Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Connection Compass podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Louise Evans. Today, I'm joined by photographer, host of the podcast Choose on Purpose, and life and success coach, Becky Plautz. Becky shares her journey from being fired in retail to building a purpose-led business rooted in empowerment, creativity, and self-expression. Together, we explore what it really means to choose your own path, from launching a podcast back in 2018 to creating powerful spaces through empowerment photography and coaching. Becky opens up about boldness as an energy, the importance of self-trust, and how slowing down can help you reconnect with what truly matters. This is certainly a conversation that explores being honest with yourself, embracing the unknown, and remembering that you can always choose again. Hello, Becky. Welcome to the Connection Compass podcast. I love that you're here. Please, could you share a little bit about yourself for our listeners today?
Yes. Hi, Andrea. Thank you for having me. So I am Becky Plautz. I am in the US. I am in central Wisconsin, and I am a mom of three. I am an entrepreneur. I focus in photography, and I'm also a certified life and success coach and a podcast host for the Choose on Purpose podcast as well. And something that I have done that I love and is my passion is I bring together the coaching, the photography, and the podcasting to support my clients in being seen, heard, and celebrated for the impact that they're making in their world. So I'm all things women's empowerment and supporting people to really get out there and just live out their purpose and stay connected to their own passions in life through those different avenues for myself. So that's where I'm at.
Can you share about the road, the path that you traveled down, coming into this line of work and connecting the photography and the podcasting and your coaching together?
Yeah, so I've been a professional photographer for 15 years, and I use quotes because I've been the person at parties since I was a child that was like documenting moments and like really focused on experiences in different ways, and that just continued to build and grow and evolve over the years. And so I was fired from a retail job, told that I wasn't cut out for customer service because I was 20. Like, I had a chip on my shoulder. So when there was people disrespecting me or someone next to me, I would speak up for them, and I would get written up for that kind of thing. And so I left there and was like, I'm never working for someone else again. I'm gonna make my own way, like that chip on my shoulder. Like, I can do whatever I want now. This is gonna be, and I didn't know that originally, that I didn't have the mentality it was gonna be the best thing for me. I licked my wounds for a couple months and really sat with anger and all of those things, but it led me to start taking photography classes and lean into my love for that, my natural love for capturing moments and really documenting experiences in that way. And then, I mean, it took 5 years for me to even figure out what I really liked about it, and I found the boudoir side of photography, which is really female empowerment. That's the way that I choose to look at it, and that I focus on it, is empowering women to love their bodies, love who they are, and continue to go on a trajectory of, where they wanna go from where they're at. And so, that was about 5 years into my photography journey that I found that avenue of photography, and I actually found it by a high school friend who asked me to do her photos for her to give to her husband who was away at boot camp. And this lit me up from the inside because I didn't know what I was doing. We just had fun. We just figured it out together. And knowing her for so long, I knew the doubt, the self-consciousness that was there, those kinds of things that I watched her really change the view of herself through this process in these pictures, really. And it just kind of sparked something in me to be like, wow, this is really exciting. I found a mentor that was specifically helping photographers build a boudoir studio and create an experience around doing that. And I've been doing that, building that, and then I've always had that experience part of it, and my whole life, my friends and family were like, "Becky, you're so confident, you're so bold, like, how do I get more of that?" And I had no clue. I didn't know for so long what that even meant. I still wonder what they really mean, but it's an energy for sure and a choice, the way I show up, that continued to just be sprinkled in throughout these 15 years now of being a photographer, and I took that over the years and understood that I was doing way more than photography. I was doing way more than just taking someone's photo and helping them see a picture of themselves. And that's where I started to really lean into, possibility of coaching. And it didn't even come right away. It was the podcasting side of things actually came before the coaching. In 2018, I started a video podcast series on YouTube, and I started to interview leaders about a time in their life when fear held them back from living their life fully. Because there's a lot of fear around women wanting to be in the camera and in front of a camera, and especially the boudoir side of things, because it can be as much or as little clothes as they choose. It's how comfortable they are with their bodies and working on that. And so I was doing those interviews for 2 years and really just getting a feel for, like, what are the challenges that leaders have came to, and working on that mindset piece of, like, being seen and being heard as a woman and being a leader, which I believe that we are all leaders of our life. And so the podcasting, muscle started to build, which was a fear of mine. Speaking in public was a fear of mine that I started to work through, and then just recently, of the last couple of years, I've added a life and success coaching certification, even though I've been doing that for a long time, but I got more clear about adding those pieces and then really now putting it together. So it has been a process. It has been an unfolding, and that's the 6-minute version of how this has happened in 15 years.
I love the story, and I think it's a very important story to tell because many people, perhaps around us, have lived a very linear life, and there's nothing wrong in that. And some people, that's their path, that's what's meant for them. But for some of them, and I certainly recognize myself in your story, is that some of us live this very non-linear life, and things don't make sense for a long time. It's explorative, isn't it? And it's working things out. Do you
Yeah.
see your road like that? Do you see this journey from that point of being in retail and then coming to where you are now? Do you see it as an explorative journey?
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely imperative to see it in that way, whether you see it now or see it back then. But the other piece of that for me is that I also started a second business in 2019. And so pre 2020, I started a second business, and I took on a business partner in that as well. And we started building a virtual community. Thank goodness we were a little bit ahead of that curve. But, even that, was another exploration of me becoming more of the leader that I want to be, that aspire to be, and learning more about communication, which is really what I believe it all comes down to in connecting with people is our communication. And adding in a business partnership at the time and navigating all of these other pieces of my own personal journey was definitely an exploration that I didn't know if I was ready for, but I said yes to. And then each of these pieces I had to be willing, which I think goes hand in hand with that exploration piece that you're asking about, is that we need to be willing to make a change, do something different, and know that we can choose again. Very little is things decided and concrete, and being able to be flexible or adaptable along the path and have the openness, the willingness to see what's, for us on this other side of a possibility is really important in growth, which I am a growth junkie, Andrea. I am all about the expansion and the growth of self so that I can continue to inspire other people to get out of their concrete, what they think
Yeah.
is safe.
Have you ever found, I'm just thinking of myself now on my own, like
Yeah.
these journeys where we explore and we don't really know where we're going. There's this possibility. Sometimes there can be a lot of confusion and you have to sit in that place for quite
Mm.
some time. And you have to be comfortable being in that. You learn to be comfortable being in that place. What are your thoughts about how do we help people to get through that bit? What tips could we give? What advice could we give to move through that? Because it's quite a big thing in non-linear journeys.
Yeah, yeah. A big part of this is deciding, making the choice to decide like what we do want and making that like our North Star. Is this a way that it aligns with what's true for you, and where you're at in your journey. And I think that's a big part of the exploration and the willingness. It's we need to first have some idea. Like, even thinking about my photography story, that came because someone I respected asked the question. I was sitting out on the lake looking over the water, which is one of my happy places, and I love water. And he was like, "What would you do if you could do anything?" And I was like, "I don't know. I guess take pictures?" And and so that gave me a point to look to, right? It gave me an opportunity to say, and at that time, I literally the only thing I knew about a professional photographer was that I had my senior photos taken once, and I didn't even wanna do that. So, there wasn't a clear understanding that that was even a profession to me at this early stage in my life. So, getting the question asked and then sitting with that question to say, "What is true for me?" is a huge piece of where in the work that I do with my clients now and what I've known from my own personal journey is that we simply don't take enough time to allow those things
Yeah.
to come to the surface and hear ourselves in what we want.
Yes, that's amazing. I was just about to say we have to give ourselves space and time, and sometimes it's perhaps a little longer than what feels comfortable till it
Yeah, and I was
comes.
just I was just thinking about how the confidence that we build, the self-trust that we build when we do allow ourselves to do that and to give the space, which in a fast-paced world and all these things, like the challenge is the clarity, making sure that we're doing the things that we're doing with purpose, with intention. Like, and that's an inside job, people can't actually tell you what's meaningful to you and what
Yeah.
your passions are. Those are the things that we get to sit with, that I believe that is the work. And that's the challenge, is allowing that to be okay with what is true for us, and then moving from that place as, like, creating from alignment.
So we both have a passion for connection,
Yes.
and we recognize that it's really important element that we need for ourselves and for society as well. What has connection meant to you? Why is it so important to you?
Well, it's been what does connection mean to me? What I love about connection is, and this has been true even this week, it's been reinforced to me, Andrea. So, connection, when I think about connection, it's just so solid to know that connection begins with self. and and our higher power. But really, we need to, again, connect to ourselves by slowing down, by giving the space to allow those the clarity to come and a clear choice, so to say, or decision to be made. I feel like I'm a broken record, but it's true. Like in taking action, and sometimes the connection is take an action step. Stop waiting for this epiphany of clarity to come and choose something to move in a direction so that the next couple steps are available to us. And to me, that connection is an energy that is it's not always there. We also create that. The way that I do that, like, actively every single day is that when I show up on a walk with my neighbor, when I go to a meeting, like, and I'm connecting with people, I'm asking my children, my husband, like, they know the question is, "What's good today?" Or, "Tell me something that's lighting you up." Like, something to make a connection for the person to begin with something that they're more happy, excited, energized about because it connects with them in a way that now we have a more open connection to explore what we wanna talk about after that versus the challenges of the day and the hard things that, we're already going through because those tend to be the top of mind things, how we're problem solving in our lives.
Yeah.
And even just asking a question of, "What are you celebrating today?" or "What's good?" gets you in that energy of connecting in this energy that is uplifting, and more of that, I think, is just always beneficial.
It's funny how when you're doing a podcast and when you're having these conversations, sometimes they often reflect the week that you're having. And I did a solo episode on the podcast this week, and I was talking about slowing down and noticing. And I'm doing 100-day public speaking challenge on TikTok at the moment. So
Wow.
I trying to be more confident, and some of the videos, they do really well, and then the odd one or two, like, bomb a little bit, and they don't do as well. Sometimes I think it's timing, sometimes I don't know, sometimes, for whatever reason, it just doesn't go forward, but on one of the ones where not done well, they've dropped off at 6 seconds. So I've literally said, "Hi there, I'm Andrea," and, like, that's, like, your 6 seconds up. And what
Mm.
I was saying on the podcast is when we slow down and take the time to connect, whether that's with ourselves, with others, we have to give, whether it's ourselves or each other, just space and time, because whatever's on that other side of that 6 seconds could be something that you really need to know, that is gonna really help you connect with something else, with a thought, with a feeling, with a perception, with just a piece of information that might make you make a decision that day. Do you think there's a reluctance to slow down and be with ourselves in modern day society?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've even challenged with that, knowing that, like, the challenge is there. Like, I am conscious enough to know that that's a challenge, and I'm a doer, Andrea.
Yeah.
I'm a doer. I am I am the person that really takes action. So the challenge, and what I do know to be true, is that when I slow down, when I do give time and space for those moments to really just be in it, I I I get so much more from it. It's really the challenge of the day to say, where am I actually gonna be giving myself the space? When can I take these extra breaths and these extra moments to reconnect with what's true for me, or what my body needs, or what someone in my kid, someone might need from me, but reconnecting with a priority or a value that I have, and taking that time. And I think that, again, that is a big part of the work that I do with, like, group coaching and in my virtual community. It's called Work on Purpose with Purpose. So it is all about meaning. like doing the things that are meaningful to us, that it's all about connection. You have to connect with yourself to make those decisions, to do the things that we don't feel like doing, but I'm gonna do it today because I know that it's something that essentially lights me up. I feel connected to it, maybe not every day, but I do.
Have you ever had a time where you felt disconnected from yourself and what it felt like?
Yeah, I mean, the big example is definitely when I was fired. I was like, wow, I had to go through this whole process of being honest and being truthful with myself. And that took, I mean, the reality is that took years to understand. I still would say like I was wrongfully fired, but the reality is I should have been fired. That's why I was. So, you know, I was definitely disconnected with the understanding about who I was and what was for me, which it was the best thing because it pushed me to do the things that I love and and acknowledge that. And I think that that's where at any point that I feel disconnected, which could be in a day-to-day moment that I'm like totally disconnected, which means that I'm kind of swirling around like the Tasmanian devil and I am without purpose, I'm without an intention of like, what am I doing right now? And that happens not just in those big moments like being fired or something happening that's definitely unplanned, but that happens in the day-to-day things that I really practice gratitude. I do practice acknowledgments for myself, which is really just recognizing the things that I'm doing that I could have chose not to. And acknowledging that the movement towards the things that feel aligned to me so that I do get reconnected to self in any of those, really chaotic moments or things that are unfamiliar in the time, that going back to gratitude and acknowledgement, but really just knowing that I'm doing the best I can with what I got and where I'm at, and giving myself some compassion and grace is a big tool that I use
Yeah.
personally.
And it goes back to the themes that we've been saying over and over again, but it's good to reiterate them, that getting to know yourself and understanding what's right for you and what's in alignment for you is really important for connection. It can take quite a while to understand it. I know I'm out of alignment, and it took me a long time to understand this, what was happening. But if I'm out of alignment, if I'm completely disconnected from myself, I have a panic attack. And you go, right, okay, I need to look at what's happening here. So it can manifest in lots of different ways, this feeling of disconnection.
Yeah, that's a physical one. I mean, that's really sometimes I wish I had a real tangible, like smack me upside the head kind of thing. When you say the physical part of that, I think about how there was a point where I was breaking out in hives, like on the back of my
Yeah.
head
Yeah.
and not visible. I could feel them. Like I would feel warmth and then I would touch it and I could feel a bump. And it took me even a while to catch up to realize, like, why am I getting these hives? At that point, I was forcing something in my life that I needed to let go of.
One of the things really wanted to talk to you about, and it was obvious you've got an amazing story and you do some amazing work, but I know that, like me, you live in the nuance. Where do we even start with that? When did you realize that you were in that place of noticing the nuance? Quite a tricky question. I would explain the nuance as seeing the tiniest detail that is so easily missed by everybody else.
Yeah. I'm still working on mastering that in the moment. Hindsight is 2020. And reflection was always where I can see those and connect those things. And I mean, I am to give you a little perspective about me, like I actually have like a whole planner in my community. So like I am someone that writes things down. I don't journal as much as I would love to create space for. Like this is more of like reflection of what actions I took or thoughts that I had, but not specifically journaling. It's more kind of bullet points
Yes.
and tracking. So that's a big way that I catch the nuance in my day and just like catching those small things that really feel out of alignment for me and the person that I am choosing to be more of. I can see that by using my tools to see, what was out of alignment. Where could I improve? Where might I be able to enhance the system in my business of reminders or double checking things that make sure that I'm on track to show up on time places or be where I want to be when I'm supposed to be there, right? Like those reflection is my biggest fan and friend that
Yeah.
I try and catch it as fast as I can in that way by having a daily practice that helps me be more aware.
And then do you notice from that reflective practice, do you notice patterns? Yeah.
I do notice patterns. Yeah. So I have a weekly planning pages, and then there's daily reflections on those, and then I even have a weekly reflection to look back at the whole week to say, where was I at? What was my intentions for the
Oh,
day?
wow.
Who was I connecting with? And then I have a couple of key questions every week that I reflect on so that I can really catch those patterns and fully see how can I adjust? Where can I adapt to be more in alignment with that? And I can share a couple of them if you'd
Yeah.
like.
Love that.
So the weekly reflection, it's a very consistent page in my planner right now that we do. So it's the same every week. And the question is, this week I was the kind of woman who. So my work is really about identity. So really looking at who was I really being in this week? And then filling that in, and then thinking about those tiny behaviors. So I asked for 3 tiny behaviors that were really those votes and those yeses towards the identity that I was working towards this week. Who do I want to be? Who am I choosing to be in those actions? And then I ask what challenged me and what did I learn from it? So I'm really reflecting on where were those challenges in the week? What didn't go as I planned? And kind of looking for that improvement, not as a pressure that I have to be perfect and that those things need to be fixed, but that it's an awareness. I could choose to change it if it's something that I value, if it's something that I really see as an opportunity to expand and grow in the way that I connect with myself and my mission and my purpose and what I'm here to do, then I get to make a conscious choice of how to do that based on the reflection that I have. And then the second part of the page is really about, you know, my intention for the week ahead. So it's a looking back and a looking forward. One more was one thing I can release from the week. So a lot of the times for me, it's, yeah, did I put too much pressure on myself for this one specific thing this week? And again, just doing that process of building the awareness around it and then moving into the next week to say, well, what's my intention for the upcoming week? What are my top 3 priorities for the upcoming week? And then what do I want to feel more of this week? So really building from an alignment and creating
Yeah.
that space for what I want.
And you're learning from yourself, aren't you? That continuous connection, reflection, leaning into that inner wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm my biggest teacher in that way, as long as I'm willing to do that exploration that you asked about.
Yes, you have to be willing to sit with yourself and get to know and give yourself space, give yourself a chance.
And
So
that's where the grace comes in, because then you get to be nice to yourself when you see it was less than ideal
yeah.
because we're human.
So what's next for you? What are you working on?
Ooh, I am working on 3 big things right now,
Yeah.
actually, which one is I'm celebrating the 15 years of my own growth and evolution with that trifecta of coaching, photography, and podcasting. And I'm doing that by celebrating that by offering and doing 15 of those experiences for women this year. So I call it the Muse 15 experience, which is like they're inspiring me and I'm holding space for them to see how they are their own inspiration as well. So that's a big one that I'm currently working on right now. I'm working on 4 currently right now with out of those 15. And then some vision casting forward that I'm still working on right now is I'm working on having a mobile studio. So right now I have a home studio in central Wisconsin and I travel to my clients, but I and they come to me both, but I have had a vision for 7 years of having a mobile studio where one side is the podcast studio and the other side is really the
Oh, wow.
photography studio, and that I can come to my clients and also with that recently, I was a couple months ago, sitting crystal clear about connection with retreat facilitators. I've done retreat photography and had like mini sessions with the participants and that kind of thing. But I'm like, "Oh, how much more powerful it can be to support these retreats when I can roll right up to where they're at with my mobile studio and I can sleep in there instead of taking up space in their retreat center. And they can come out to me and I can interview and give testimonials to their experience with their participants, all of this massive value that I'm so excited about actually taking action on that vision right now. And then the third one is a masquerade ball. I I threw a masquerade ball in 2017. It was a dual purpose of an event, which was celebrating my clients, my photography clients. And so there was only about 20 people that came to this event. But then the dual side of that was it was my 30th birthday. And I was like, I want to go to a masquerade that's done right. Like everyone in their masks, dressed up like a black tie event, all of that. And I'm doing it again in 2027 for my 40th birthday. And now these muse experiences that I'm doing, they're coinciding as like my VIP guest list of my clients to come and get in the room and share about their growth while, I'm celebrating my growth as well. So those are the 3 big things: the mobile studio, muse experiences, and the masquerade. They're all M's.
They just sound fantastic. They sound amazing. They sound incredible and really unique to you. Becky, do you have a favorite song? What's your
Oh
favorite?
my gosh, favorite song. You know, I don't have a favorite song, but what came to mind is Megan Trainor, "I Love Me." That beat and the sassiness of that song is definitely my vibe, so I'll just say that. I don't know that I have a favorite, but that one, it came top of mind when you asked, so
We will use that on our
yeah.
Instagram post for the podcast. Yes. Becky, it's been wonderful speaking to you today. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Connection Compass podcast. If you think this episode will help someone else, please leave a review. For more information about Becky's work, please check the show notes. And finally, remember to keep talking, keep connecting for a more interconnected world.